Hello and welcome to another episode of the midierror Meets podcast, where we speak to all sorts of people who work within sound and music. On the show this time we have absolute gaming legend Tim Wright, who has been making games since his early childhood on the VIC-20, even selling games in the school playground at times, which he'd program himself. He went on to release music and sound effects for a ton of seminal games, as well as working for Psygnosis in the PlayStation era and working on the monumental Wipeout series and the music within it. He also made MTV Music for the PS1 and PS2. I can't fit any more into the intro. I can, however, ask you if you'd like to donate, that it'd be greatly appreciated. I do all this stuff by myself, so you can donate via PayPal or via Ko-fi if you like. All donations are really appreciated, and I love to hear what you think of the show, and I hope you're enjoying it too. Okay, enough of that, let's get on with it. And the first question I asked him was about his musical beginnings.
I would say probably, a few things really. My father would always wander around whistling, so that was his thing. And we lived on a farm for a good long while. After about how old would I be? I guess about 3. He's still alive. I'm talking about him in the past tense, but just historically, just to make that clear. Well, he was the last time I spoke to him. So yeah, he'd be, whistling top of his lungs. So that's definitely something from childhood. My auntie Zena, she was a teacher for a lot of her working life, retired now, but yeah, she played the guitar, piano, and she taught. I don't know whether she taught it actually at school, but it was certainly part of the syllabus, because believe it or not, she taught deaf kids.
Wow.
So at one point in my teenage years, I was dragged in to write some software on a BBC Micro computer when that was a thing in schools.
I remember.
Yeah, and I mean, sort of briefly on that, I always wanted one. Ended up using one in the schools, but went the route of VIC-20 and Commodore 64. But obviously I was using it in school, so I was aware of how to program it. So she dragged me into the school and said, yeah, we need some stuff programming here, music-based stuff. So I was like, not being funny, but aren't we in a deaf school? And she said, yes, but deaf kids can put their hand on speakers and feel rhythms and so on. I was like, oh yeah, face palm, of course they can. So that was good. That was great fun. So yeah, she featured in my early years. I remember her being reasonably musical, and of course Top of the Pops, which was in the background, and the radio a lot. But I wasn't really enamoured with sort of pop music at that early age. And I was writing. I was composing music when I was laying in bed, sort of 3-4 years old, talking complete gibberish, but making up little tunes and stuff. And I've still got a cassette tape here from, I don't know, when would it be? Early 70s. My father put a little sort of cassette tape machine just outside the bedroom door and recorded me singing to myself.
That's so brilliant.
Yeah, I mean it's in tune, but it's nonsense lyrics. Doopa chaka doody boopa daka doo doo, all this kind of thing. Yeah, I think it was just sort of getting around the whole ooh and ah and shawaddy waddy and all that kind of thing and making up my own nonsense. So yeah, I think that pretty much sums up my. It was a thing. I was aware of it and I participated in it.
Yeah, I think it's great that you still have those recordings, because so many of us have those things have disappeared into the sort of the mysteries of our past lives, all those little tapes that we had. So it's great that you still had that. What's pretty amazing is how many of the people I've spoken to have that experience of having a cassette recording of their early years, and I wonder whether a phone and like modern technologies will give people that same experience.
I don't know. I mean, the opportunity's there, the technology's there, but the one thing that I discovered was that it's kind of throwaway. So there's so much of it. There's a lot online, obviously. You know, I guess in the future, maybe Facebook will still be around with, you know, videos and stuff like that for people to download. But a lot of people's stuff is online. It's, you know, it's on social media. And if there's some kind of solar flare or, you know, each of these companies goes down the pan or whatever, you know, people are going to lose a big chunk of their recorded history. And I know...
Go on.
So I was going to say, my ex's sister, she would just keep recording photographs on, you know, little memory sticks. And then when they were full, she wouldn't download to a computer. She'd take them out and throw them into a drawer. Mm-hmm. Now, the archival life of those things varies. They don't need batteries to just sit there and kind of hold the image. But I don't know for how long. But I always sort of ridiculed her and said, hey, you know, you need to get these backed up and put them on a computer, get them on a hard drive so they're nice and safe. And thinking about it now, maybe she's got the best idea, you know, because as long as you keep them safe, you know, down the line, oh, my hard drive's crashed. Oh, yeah, I think I've got mine somewhere in a shoebox. And then she'll have this big archive. And I would imagine most of them would work.
Yeah, it is an interesting thing. I'm literally talking to one of my previous guests. He's in that predicament of having CDs that he burnt 20 years ago on his computer and the old computer that he burnt them on and made them on, and the data's not reading. Like the table of contents of what's on there is reading, but the actual contents aren't. So yeah, I guess it's something that we all have to like think about. It's like, how much do we really want these things? And I think that is a great idea, just sticking it on a SD drive. Card.
But I mean, analog's the thing. You know, I've got cassette tapes, from the 70s, 80s, 90s. Most of them sound kind of okay, and they'll degrade gracefully unless they snap or whatever. But digital, it either works or it doesn't.
Yeah, you just get with a corrupted audio file. It's just the harshest white noise you've ever heard, isn't it? If it's corrupted,
yeah,
it's just like it breaks your speakers and your ears.
Or you can pay somebody like £500 to, or dollars or whatever currency people are using, get a specialist to recover it.
Yeah.
But I mean, who wants to do that? It's much better to have some kind of slightly noisy tape or whatever that you can at least still hear the essence of what was done. I think it's all about re-triggering memories, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I've got some recordings I took on a mini disc of school, like playtime and lessons and stuff. And it is just that of triggering memories. It's like you close your eyes and you're sort of still back there. But you're right about phones and stuff being throwaway, because you can just record and record and record. Whereas back in the day with tapes and stuff, you had like 4 tapes that were yours, and then your sister had 3, and you'd like label them up, wouldn't you? So they were like these precious things of like, side A on that one's really important to me.
Yeah, and if you've got like you say, just a handful of tapes, if you listen to that all the way through, it's like an archive of various days across years. Yeah. And things will get cut off, and you might have had a cassette of your favourite, let's go back really far, like Ultravox or Duran Duran recording, and then halfway through, your sister's voice goes, I wonder if this is working. And you're like, no, you've wrecked it. And then 20 years later, you don't care about that Duran Duran or Ultravox or whatever it was. Hearing your sister's voice going, is this working? That's the precious thing that's so on that
true.
tape.
It's so true. At the time, it was like, yeah, you're going to...
Yeah, I'm going to kill you.
You were one of 5 children, is that correct?
I still am.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. Past tense. You grew up with... Yeah, that's cool, man. So you must have had a lot of sort of like influences musically and sort of things like that between you.
You'd think, wouldn't you? I mean, it was quite an insular childhood because we lived in a small village, well, up until I was about 3, then moved to the farm, which is kind of out in the middle of North Wales. And then the siblings were added My mum got to 5 and went, right, okay, that's enough. So only one sister though, so it's just like very masculine household. It was a bit of a strange one because I started piano lessons quite young, around about sort of 7-ish, I think. And then there's my sister, she didn't do it. Then my next brother down, Lee, he started piano lessons as well. And of course, the thrust there is classical. So you're getting that. There are music programs that you're watching on TV, but again, it wasn't really. It was bizarre. My brother was really into classical music. And I kind of was as well, and didn't really pay attention to what was going on musically until I got into my teens. And then, of course, it's like, well, where are the ladies at? Well, they're at nightclubs and pubs and so on. They're not going to be on this farm in the middle of nowhere. So you get out there and then you hear all the music. And it's like, but it's in your face then. It's coming out of speakers. It's not just coming out of a little TV in the corner.
Yeah, you're feeling
so, yeah, so that was a trigger, and then it's like, all right, okay, well, I want a piano. Like, I want to use the piano not just as a learning device. I want to actually start writing my own tunes, because that didn't kick in until the teens, really. And a guitar. So, yeah, that's when the real songwriting kicked in, I think.
Amazing. Yeah, you talked about having a piano in your house. Yeah, what sort of songs were you doing then? I mean, I can appreciate not liking classical music. I can relate to that completely, having piano lessons and not wanting to play like Ode to Joy and things like that. I wanted to play like Jean-Michel Jarre, and I wanted a keyboard synth lesson rather than a piano lesson, but was sort of forced to do piano lessons. So what sort of stuff were you making on the piano? What sort of stuff were you doing?
Around about the time when I really started to get interested in commercial music and, what was on the radio and stuff, it was, you had mod, you had ska, rock and roll, of course, that was still going. Punk was kind of on the way out. But the thing that I got into was, I guess, the tail end of New Romantic and the electronic stuff. So a bizarre combination of Howard Jones, Nick Kershaw, Kraftwerk, who else? Human League. Strangely, actually, some of the New Romantic bands I wasn't keen on. So like Duran Duran I fell in love with later. And yeah, that whole sort of... the whole sort of long shirts and everything, and it didn't really grab me. So it was more the electronic side of things. And yeah, Jarre, obviously. I mean, he was a big thing, and because I was into computers and the computer demo scene, Commodore 64 era, there were a lot of demos there where people had sort of penned his music on the SID chip. So yeah, there was. I think it was those. It was that sort of electronic with a hint of, well, a big smattering of 80s. Yeah. Rather than the real purist sort of stuff. And then I got into like Yellow Magic Orchestra and stuff like that afterwards. I'm trying to think who else was really...
I think you mentioned Yazoo as well, Vince Clarke.
Yeah, not so much then. I mean, I got into Erasure first, and then historically Yazoo, kind of looking back at what else has Vince done. And I knew he was in Depeche Mode, but I wasn't really into Depeche Mode back then. When they got all sort of dark and drug-addled and, what was there? Was it Violator? Was that the...
Oh, I'm not
Reach
sure.
Out and Touch Faith, that one. Your Own Personal Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they started doing that sort of thing, I was like, okay. Yeah, now this is getting interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so the piano, the first thing I taught myself to play was Axel F.
Nice.
And I kind of got it slightly wrong, I think, but more or less right, by ear. I think the bass line slightly out. So that was one thing that I did, and I got a cassette recorder and recorded myself playing it. And then it was my party piece. If we went around to somebody's house and they had a piano or a synth, I'd go, can I have a play with that? And they'd go, yeah. Oh, would you play? No, not really. And they were like, oh, wow. So that was an opener. But, honestly, guitar, I had an acoustic guitar, student size, and I wrote a lot of songs using that. because it's just so easy to sit there and strum and, you know, write a few lyrics and whatever in your bedroom. You can't drag the piano into your bedroom, and the piano was unfortunately in the lounge. So, you know, if it was, you had to pick your moment.
Yeah.
So my dad was in there, he was watching TV, or he wanted a quiet moment. He didn't want some kid banging away on the piano in the corner.
Playing the Moonlight Sonata at the same time.
Yeah, or Axel F for the 400th time.